Hello children, how are you? Hope you're all safe and secure at home. Okay, I think you had an online virtual calling with your class teacher. You must have had nice time talking to her and seeing her through the video call. Yes? Wow, I think you were all overwhelmed. Okay, now in this English session, we're going to have a fun time by reading an interesting story. This is going to be as a reading activity. So, please follow the pronunciation, intonation and the modulation. Okay children, before I tell you this story, I would like to ask a question. Do you have wishes? Yes, that's great. And my next question is, are you happy with what you have? Yes? Good. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a small story of a little pine tree who lived in a forest. Have you seen a pine tree, children? See this pic. This is what it is. You must have seen this tree during the Christmas time, right? This tree grows exclusively in the northern hemisphere. In countries like North America, China, Southeast Asia, Russia, and Europe. Okay, now moving on to the story. In a forest grew a little pine tree. It felt quite lonely as it had no friends. It also felt unhappy that it had long needles instead of leaves. One night, it wished that it had leaves of gold. Wow, amazing! The next morning, it found that the wish had come true and it had gold leaves. The pine tree was very happy. But soon the woodcutter came and cut down every single leaf, leaving the little pine tree bare to the breeze. It felt very sad. The little pine tree wished that it had leaves of glass so that no one could take that. The next morning it was happy to see that it had glass leaves. But there was a big storm in the afternoon, and all the glass leaves shattered and fell on the ground. The pine tree was sad again and wished it had big green leaves. The pine tree was very happy. The next morning, as its wish has come true, but soon a goat came and ate each one of the leaves. The pine tree now wished that it could get its long needles back. It was very happy the next morning when it got its needles back. Okay, now the moral of the story is, be happy with what you have and what you are. Okay children, will you be happy with what you have? Yes? Wow, good. Okay, now let's read the lesson. Please take page 37. Lesson number 5. The Little Pine Tree. In a forest grew a little pine tree. He was very sad. He had no leaves. Instead, he only had long needles. One night, the little tree said, "I don't like needles. All the other trees in the forest have leaves. I want leaves too, but I want better leaves. I wish I had pretty golden leaves. and he went to sleep. Later that night, a fairy came by and gave the little tree golden leaves. The next morning, when the little tree woke up and shook his branches, he was very happy. He said, "Oh, my leaves are so beautiful. No other tree has gold leaves." And he danced all morning. The little tree's golden leaves shone in the sunlight. A man who was walking through the forest saw the shining leaves. He plucked them all and took them away in his bag. Please turn your page, children. Page number 38. The poor little tree cried, "I don't want gold leaves anymore. I wish I had glass leaves." The tinkling of the glass leaves woke the little tree the next morning. How pretty they looked! No other tree was so bright. But that afternoon, the sky became dark. A strong wind shook the little pine tree. All his glass leaves fell down. The little pine tree was sad again. He said, "I will not have gold leaves and I will not have glass leaves. I wish I had green leaves. I want to be like the other trees." When he woke up the next day, his big green leaves made him look like the other trees. But soon a hungry goat came by. He saw the green leaves on the little tree and ate them up. The little tree said, "I do not want leaves any more. I wish I could have my long needles back." That night the fairy smiled and gave the little tree his needles back. The next morning the little tree was happy to feel his long needles. He said, "Gold leaves, glass leaves, and green leaves are all nice, but only long needles are good for a little pine tree like me." I hope you understood the lesson, children. Okay, now you please read and practice every day. Bye bye. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, be safe and stay at home. Thank you, children.